I just won 2 club championships, not even senior, 2 regular club championships. To do that, you have to be quite smart, and you have to be able to hit the ball a long way. And I do it. He doesn't do it. He can't hit a ball 50 yards.
I'm happy to play golf if you carry your own bag. Think you can do it?
That's the biggest liability. He's a 6 handicap of all.
I was an 8 handicap.
Yeah.
8.
Never.
But I have, you know how many?
I've seen you swing. I know you swing.
Okay, that was how Donald Trump responded when he was asked about his capabilities to serve another term back in June. But without an 81-year-old Joe Biden to face off against, Trump's age could be in the spotlight tonight. He is the oldest candidate on the stage by 19 years. He will be tasked with not only demonstrating his own fitness, but also appealing to younger voters, a group that Harris has made some gains with. Joining me now to discuss how the former president is preparing for tonight's debate is Lara Trump. She's the co-chair of the Republican National Committee, also Donald Trump's daughter-in-law. Lara, good morning. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks, Casey. Great to be back with you.
So let's start with how the former president is preparing, especially considering there is a very significant contrast here in the age of these two candidates, and they've never actually met in person. Should we expect some of the personal attacks we have seen him make online show up in person on the stage tonight?
Well, I think Donald Trump is very focused on this debate tonight. He knows how important it is. He doesn't take anything for granted. He has been preparing for this debate. He's done traditional debate prep, but he also, Casey, has been out talking with the media, whether that's in town halls. He did a town hall last year here on CNN, whether it's in press conferences where he fields questions from every reporter, or whether it's in the podcast or sit-down interviews that he continues to do. He wants to engage more with the public, not less, and it is a stark contrast, of course, to what we've seen from Kamala Harris. So she has really upped the stakes for herself in this debate. I think that many people already know who Donald Trump is, and they can harken back to how their life felt when he was in office. And so he's prepared for this debate. He's ready for tonight, and he's ready to talk about why your life was better when he was in office, and why would you want to vote for 4 more years of what we're in right now, which is what you're going to get with Kamala Harris.
So speaking of how people's lives could be better, the former president was asked when he was giving a speech earlier this month about childcare. I want to play the answer that he gave there, and then I'll ask you about it on the other side. Let's watch.
I have to stay with childcare. I want to stay with childcare, but those numbers are small relative to the kind of economic numbers that I'm talking about, including growth, but growth also headed up by what the plan is that I just told you about. We're going to be taking in trillions of dollars, and as much as child care is talked about as being expensive, it's relatively speaking not very expensive compared to the kind of numbers we'll be taking in.
So there seem to be a lot of Americans who are confused by what he said there. What would Donald Trump do to make child care more affordable?
Yeah, there's no doubt that the cost of everything, Casey, has skyrocketed. You know, life is 20% more expensive right now for people than it was when Kamala Harris and Joe Biden took office. And you go back to Donald Trump's days in office. When he left the White House, 1.4% was the inflation rate. He wants to make sure that wage growth is meeting inflation and that we bring inflation down. If you recall, when he was in office, he doubled the child tax credit. He advocated for and passed paid family leave. These are important factors for working families out there. And he does not discount for a second how expensive life has become. We all, as parents, I have 2 young kids, want to know that we can make this life in America a life for our kids that is better than the ones we are in right now. And for many people, it doesn't feel that way. That is very antithetical to the human spirit and human nature. He wants to afford people life again. And whether that's childcare, whether it's going to buy groceries, whether it's filling up your gas tank, he wants to make sure every American can do that.
Lara, I also want to ask you about something he posted recently on Truth Social, where he actually called on the RNC, the organization you're a co-chair of, to activate now. And this was around mail-in voting. He said, he was quoting Tucker Carlson here with an election expert, that 20% of mail-in ballots in Pennsylvania are fraudulent. Here we go again. Where is the Attorney General, the FBI to investigate? Where is the Republican Party in Pennsylvania? The RNC must activate now. Now, in August, the RNC, your RNC, and the Trump campaign launched a Get Out the Vote tool where Pennsylvania voters can request a mail-in ballot directly. Is the former president saying that Republicans in Pennsylvania should not ask for these ballots?
And no, quite the opposite. Donald Trump wants every voter, no matter if you're voting Republican, Democrat, or third-party candidate, to feel comfortable that you can vote.
20% of them are fraudulent?
He's specifically referencing information from the 2020 election. What we're talking about right now is making sure that every vote matters and every vote counts. And I've worked very hard.
What information do we have? What
RNC.
evidence is there that 20% of the mail-in ballots in Pennsylvania in 2020 were fraudulent?
I didn't see that report, so I'd have to go back and look at it. So I can't directly speak to that. But what I can tell you is we've worked very hard on the ground at the RNC to make sure every voter in this country feels like when you cast a ballot, whether it's via mail, whether it's early voting in person, or whether it's on election day in an election office around the country, your vote matters and your vote counts. And Donald Trump very much wants every Republican voter to vote however they feel most comfortable, and every voter in this country to vote however they feel most comfortable. So I would have to go back and look at that. I have not studied that.
All right, Lara Trump, I do very much appreciate your time. Thank you very much for being here on a very historic day in this campaign. Thank you.
Thank you.